All right, welcome to part 2 of the bubble invasion game. In the previous video, we set up our heads-up display at the top of the screen. We also spawned our first bubble on the outside right edge of the screen. So what we're going to do next is we're going to get a bubble moving across the screen and we're going to test it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a timer along with a move bubble function that will get the bubble moving. So let's get started with it. So first off, when we look at this, um, in the global variables, they have a start speed equal 1. We are going to change the speed to make this game more difficult as it progresses. As you pop a video, we're going to increase the speed of the bubble. So what I'm going to do is we're going to create a global variable called speed. And in the start function, we're going to say speed equals, and we're going to say that start speed, that constant. If you want to keep the speed the same each time, we wouldn't have to do this. We can just use start speed as in our move command, which you'll see in a second. But I want to make this more difficult as the game goes on. Okay, let's write the move bubble function. All right, so I'm going to say function. Let's put a comment in here. Okay, so this function moves the bubble horizontally across the screen. So I'm going to say function move bubble. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say bubble dot move. Now I need it to move left. So in this case here, speed is equal to 1 because our start speed is 1, and that would move it right if I put it in. So I need the opposite. So I'm going to say minus speed. Now, in my example, I had the bubble fluctuating up and down to make it more difficult to pop. You could put 0 here, so let's start it out with 0 to test it. That means it's not going to move up or down. It's going to stay level. All right. And we are going to put an if statement here so that if the bubble does make it all the way across the screen, we're going to lose a live and we're going to have to move a bubble up into the HUD. Okay, so let's say if bubble dot get x is less than or equal to 0. So that means that if the center of the bubble hits the left edge, that means we've lost a live here. Okay, now I'm going to use a comment because I'm going to put in place bubble function, which we're going to do next. I'm going to leave that as a comment. We're going to write that in the next part. Okay, that place bubble is putting the bubble up in the HUD over here. Okay, and then we also want to spawn a new bubble if it's made it across the screen. Okay. All right, so now how do we get this activated? Well, we need a timer. So I'm going to go back to the start function and I'm going to say set timer. And I'm going to call move bubble. And then we have a constant for the number of milliseconds and its delay. So we're going to say delay. Okay, let's test this. Okay, we can see the bubble moving across the screen. Once it hits the center on the left edge, it stops. Now this is going to move to the top, and we're going to write that in a second, but you can see that it's working, that we're getting it moving across the screen. Okay, again, if you wanted it to shake as it goes across, what we can do is instead of 0 here, we can use randomizer, next float, So this will give us a fluctuation between -5 and 5 up and down as we go across. So let's try that. Okay, it makes it a little more difficult to pop with that erratic movement as we go across there. Okay? All right, let's write the place bubble function next. All right, let's place the bubble now. If a bubble makes it all the way across the screen without getting popped, we're going to lose a live, and then we're going to move a bubble up into the top right corner of the HUD. Okay, and then if we miss another one, we're going to place the ball next to it until we have 5 bubbles in a row on here and the game's over. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to need is we're going to need a variable to keep track of missed bubble. So I'm going to say variable missed bubble. And in the start function, I'm going to say missed bubble is equal to 0. Okay. So we're going to write our function. All right. So this function places a bubble in top right corner of HUD moving across. Okay. So we're going to say function place bubble. And in our place bubble function, what we want to do is we want to say bubble dot set position. And what we're going to do is we have to start with the width of the screen, and we have to subtract off a diameter of a bubble to shift it over left. So we're going to say 2 times the constant bubble radius. And then because we have multiple bubbles up there, as we keep missing some of the bubbles as they move across, we're going to multiply this by how many missed bubbles we have. Okay. Now I'm going to show you this at the beginning, and we're going to have to adjust this in a second, but just let me show you this to start. Okay. And then we're going to say comma. Now the Y position of this is going to be a fixed Y position, and it's shifted down from the top 1 radius. So this would be bubble radius. Okay. And then we're going to say missed bubble plus plus. Okay, let's just test it at this point. We will need some more code in here for when the game's over and to stop the timer. But at this point, let's just test it with place bubble. So we have to undo the comment on place bubble. Let's open this up here. Okay, so if we run it and the bubble moves across the screen, we can see that it places the center directly on the right edge of the screen. So what we want to do is we want to fix that. So we want to shift that over a radius. So what we'll do is we'll subtract bubble radius from that and retest it. Okay, purple's going across the screen here. So we should get a full bubble. Okay, now we get a full bubble on the right side of the heads-up display, and the green one should be next to it. Okay, good. So once this reaches 5, the game will be over. So I guess at this point we can put that in there. Okay, so let's stop this. If missed bubble equal 5, that means that we're going to stop the timer. And there would be a game over screen. So let me put that in right now as a comment, and we can call that as we go. Okay? All right. Okay, in the last portion of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the game over screen. So at the end of stage 2, what they want us to do when 5 bubbles have been missed, stop the game action and display game over in red text using the game over font centered on the canvas. Do not spawn another bubble if game over is being displayed. All right, so we've already written the code. If miss bubble equal 5, we're stopping the timer, so that's good. So what we want to do is we want to call the game over screen, and then we want to write the function display game over once 5 bubbles have been missed. Okay, so in this, we're going to say function game over screen. We're going to say variable, local variable text is equal to new text, and we're going to put game over. And then they give us a font as a constant, and it's game underscore over underscore font. And then we want to set the position of this font, so text dot set position, and we want to use size 50, and we want it to be centered at the middle of the screen, so we're going to say get height divided by 2. Actually, not size 50, it's position 50 on the X, my bad. And text dot set color is color dot red. And then we want to add text. Okay, so let's test this. So we're going to have to go through until 5 bubbles have been missed. Okay, so there's our first bubble going across. So we got 1, 2, 3rd bubble. So 2 more here, and we should be able to test this out. 4. And then our 5th bubble goes across, and the game ends, and we get game over on there. Okay, thanks for watching part 2 of the bubble invasion. Please like and subscribe, and then we'll finish up the game in the next video. Thanks for watching.